All right, so number 6 is B, no. Number 7, a weld procedure is qualified on P8 material. Is it good for P1 material?
Yes.
Number 7. So we got a weld procedure here, right? So on weld procedure, we can look up QW 252, we can look up QW 401.1, or QW 403.20. All right, this is number 7 and 8 is showing you why it is so important to, when you look in code, to go to procedure for procedures and for welder qualification for welder qualification, right? Because it's very easy. These two answers, the questions are almost identical, just one's procedure, one's welder, but the answers are different. So,
7 is no, 6 is sorry, 7 is no.
well,
8 is yes.
we're gonna get there, but yeah. So we could go to QW 252, 7, yeah, 7 is no. So let's go to QW 252.
That's QW 2.5.
QW 252. It's just a whole bunch of different ones. All right, so this is just a table. QW 253 is in there as well. It's just different process. So welding procedure. So our P number, right? P number is an essential variable, right? Base metals. So it's telling us P number on these charts right here is the P number is essential. So that means if we went from one P number to a different P number, we'd have to requalify. All right, now let's go to QW 401.1. QW 401.1. Supplementary variables is talking about. I don't know why that's on there. Let's go to 403.20. See what we have there. 403.20. There we go. So 403.20 says a change from one base metal listed under one P number in table QW QB 422 to a metal listed under another P number or any other group base metal from a base metal of one subgroup to any other grouping in P number 10 or 11. So what it's saying right there under procedure is that if we're qualified under one P number, we're not qualified under a different P number, right? So when we're talking welding procedures, whatever P number is on there is what we're qualified to. That's our base metal, right? So the other day we talked about being qualified with one P number and having a whole bunch of P numbers we're qualified to. That's going to be on our welding qualification. This right here is welding procedure, okay? So at the procedure, if we're qualified to that P number, that's all we're qualified for. So we'll have a whole bunch of procedures that we'll have to write as inspectors, to where we have a carbon steel procedure, right? P1 to P1. Maybe we have a carbon to stainless procedure, P1 to P8. Then we have a stainless procedure, P8 to P8. Then we may have a chrome procedure, P5 to P5, all right? Now that our company will have all these different procedures, and then for each one of those, we may have 3 different processes, right? We may have one for TIG, MIG, and stick, right? MIG and flux and then stick. So we could have 3 for each one of those different P numbers, right? But as a welder, we may come in and take a carbon steel MIG and flux core test. And when we take that process test on carbon, we're good for all of those procedures with MIG and flux core. All those different P numbers, all those different procedures. We have to have different procedures for different P numbers, but when we talk about welder qualification, if we take a P1 test like we talked about yesterday, I think we talked about that a little bit yesterday, maybe even on Thursday last week. But so if we're qualified to that 1 P number as a welder, it also qualifies us for everything else in that group. We're going to talk about that in a minute on 423.1. So that's why we have to understand procedures. The data on procedures and essential variables on procedures are different than our essential variables for welder qualification. So when we go digging into code, whatever code it is, it doesn't matter. API 1104, D11, ASME, doesn't matter. Whatever code we're in, we have to be very, very specific about looking for procedures when we're looking for procedure information, and looking for welder qualification information under welder qualification information. And you got to keep those two things separate in your head. If not, it's very easy to get them confused. All right? So, number 7 is no. A weld procedure is qualified on P8 material. Is it good for P1 material? No, it is not. Right?
You can't use other companies' WPSs, but can an inspector have a pre-designed schedule of different processes of different UPSs that he designed and stuff? Can you take those from company to company and utilize that from company to company?
Let's say you were a contractor and you were maybe a mobile contractor and you were a pipe welder, let's say, and you owned a rig. So you were going to go out onto a job site at a plant, a refinery, and you had 500 pipe welds to make on carbon or stainless or whatever, right? So as that contractor, when you go on site there as the welder, you will have your own welding procedures for your rig that you've qualified yourself, and you'll be welding on their stuff with your procedures, right? Just like a construction company, you may have a 300-person construction company go on site at a plant, and they have their own welding procedures that they're bringing with them onto the plant site, right? But at that point, they're a subcontractor. Yeah. And the plant doesn't own those procedures. You own those procedures, right? The plant could suggest some of the procedures that they want you to use of their own and show them to you, but you're still going to have to requalify. The plant could have a welder out there working for them, but if he goes to work for you, he's got to requalify, right? Through your procedures and do a test for you. So, all right, let's go to number 8. A welder is qualified on P8 material. Is he good for P1 material? So the only thing that's changed from 7 to 8 is 7 is a welding procedure, and number 8 is a welder. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go look at 423.1. All right, so this is that one we pulled up yesterday. All right, 423.1. Base metal used for welder qualification may be substituted for the metal specified in the WPS in accordance with the following table. When a base metal shown in the left column is used for welder qualification, the welder is qualified to weld all combinations of base metals shown in the right column, including unassigned metals of similar chemical composition to these metals. Right? So 423.1 is telling us if we are qualified in one of these P numbers on the left side, it qualifies us for everything on the right side. Right? So in this case, we have a welder that is qualified on P8. So we look over here, left column, says P number 1 through P number 15F. Right, so P8 falls in there. Let's go over to what we're qualified for. right column. So we're qualified in this row, P8. We go over here, that means we're qualified for P1 through P15F, P number 34, and P number 41 through 49. All right, so we're qualified for all of those. So the welder qualified on P8, is he good for P1? Absolutely. Yes, he is.
I put it as long as the process is the same. Is that
Yeah, that's a good note. Well, I mean, at the bottom there, it is right, but A is going to be the rightest, right, based on what we're trying to talk about here. But yeah, I probably need to change that because it is a little confusing. But yeah, I mean, the process would have to be the same.